Hey everybody, short video here to show you guys how to create your exploded view for the train or for any Onshape project. You need to be in the assembly tab down below this element. Over on the right side of the graphic window you're going to notice you've got these three little buttons. Maybe you've accidentally clicked on them once and didn't really know what was in there. Maybe you didn't notice them. Go ahead and click on one of them. You're going to get this extra little side panel to open up. There's three tabs to move to. Okay, the top one is your bill of materials, or like a parts list, and we are going to populate that and maybe edit it so that when it comes time to our drawing sheets we have what we want here. The third one though is where you create your exploded views. So you basically just have to tell Onshape that we're ready to create an exploded view by clicking Add Exploded View. Pretty easy. So step one, have your assembly completed, be in the assembly tab. Step two, click this little button over on the right. If you're not on the third tab, click the third one. Okay, with the one that's open, if you click on it, it's going to close the panel. If you click one of the other ones, it'll just switch to that one. So just FYI, that's why it closed on me. Go ahead and click Add Exploded View, and you'll see up here that we are not editing Explode 1. To explode parts, or to kind of pull them apart, you're going to select pieces. Let me grab the smokestack first. I'm going to do a single left click. It brings up this triad manipulator where you can use the arrows to click, hold, and pull the part away. And if you've got it where you want, you can just accept it. Whenever doing an exploded view, let me just undo that. Try to always move parts in a way that they can pull away from the assembly without passing through things. We don't want our objects to look like they've got kind of superpowers and can walk through walls or other objects. So I click a part, for example. I wouldn't want to slide this way because that's not physically possible, right? I'm going to cancel that. So straight up makes sense here. Okay. I can also, let's see, I'm going to make this take up less space here on my graphic window by grabbing that edge. I can also grab more than one part at a time. I don't need to hold a control key or anything on my keyboard. I just need to start selecting. Let's see, that is actually selected. So I'm going to click in the white to deselect it, and I'm going to start selecting other parts. I'm going to basically group together everything here on this right side. The wheel, the axle peg, the other wheel, the other axle peg, the linkage arm, and both linkage pegs. They're all highlighted now, and I'm going to pull them all together as a group out, away from the train body. At this point, I'm happy with where they're all at. I'm not going to leave them there, but in terms of as a group how far I wanted them to go. So as a group, I'm going to accept that. They all stay highlighted. So from here, I could kind of move them all again, which I don't want to. What I'm going to do is select objects to deselect them to reduce my group down to the objects that I want to pull further away. So the wheels I'm going to leave behind. So I'm going to select this wheel and this wheel. They become unselected. And I'm going to pull the linkage arms, or arm and pegs, and the axle pegs out further. Now the linkage arm and pegs, they don't really need to move that far to be kind of clear of blocking the view of the wheels. So for right here, I'd say is good. I'm going to accept that. I'm going to leave the linkage arm behind and keep pulling the rest of it just enough so the linkage pegs are out of the way. I can see them. And then lastly, I'm going to get these axle pegs far enough out that they're not kind of upstaging anything. Just like that. So I need to repeat what I'm doing for the cow catcher and the things on the back. The one thing I will tell you is you need to know what your perspective is, kind of the view you're going to project onto a drawing sheet later. So if this is the isometric, let's go to an isometric view. Okay, I want to be checking this isometric view as I am pulling apart and creating this exploded view. If I'm in this orientation where I can see and click and select and deselect my parts, but I'm not stopping to go back and look at what it's going to look like on the drawing sheet. I may not have pulled things far enough, or maybe I've even pulled them too far. So I would tell you up front, make sure you know what that projection is going to be. So if it's going to be that isometric like this, keep going to that and checking it to make sure your parts are kind of clear of each other, etc. So let's try to finish this off. Bring the cow catcher out. So I'm rotating so that I can see and grab these parts. But as I pull them away, you'll see that I'm going to go back to a different view. Now that they're all selected, I'm going to go back to my isometric. This way, from this perspective, I can get a sense of when it's far enough. And what I see is that I'm probably going to move my smokestack further up. Not sure if I unselected something else. Alright, so hopefully you get the idea. I'm going to get the piece on the back, which is the hitch magnet and the peg holding it on, and I will be finished. So get those. Let's go back to the isometric before I accept anything. That's pretty good. Accept, and deselect the magnet, and let the peg come out a little further. It's a little hard to tell which arrow I need to grab. Perfect. So that's creating your exploded view. While we're in here, well, first I guess let's say we need to accept that is it. So we're going to hit done. And that's it. It does snap back to where everything's assembled. It did save, it is there. Over here in this menu, you can see Explode 1. You can see all the steps you did to pull it apart. And if you'd like to see it again, you can click right here. You just need to double click. And it goes back to that view where you can edit it or preview it and then press done. Okay, let's go up to the top tab in this panel where it says BOM. That's your bill of materials. Let's expand that a little bit and let's show you that you can modify this. One thing you can do is you can remove or add columns that are here. These are the suggested ones to use, but if you right click here in the header, you can remove a column. Over here you have a drop down where you can add columns. You have all these other things that have been suggested. And name is the part names. So I'm going to go ahead and use part name. And I'm going to change the order in which these things are in here. So also if I don't like the order, I can right click on the column header and I can not just remove it, but I can move it to the left. I'd like to make it the second column. So first I'll have an item number. This is going to be like the number in a balloon on the drawing sheet. And then right after that will be the name of the part. And after that it'll tell me how many of them there are in the assembly. And then I could have a description if I want. For right now, I think I'm going to go ahead and remove the description column as well. Okay, we're going to keep it pretty simple. And that's that. We now have our exploded view created. We have our bill of materials or parts list prepped. And the next step is going to be getting all of this stuff onto drawing sheets.